disinfection and sterilization. But before we talk about all that, we have to talk about cleaning. We always talk about innovations. We always talk about technology. We always talk about going further and being better, faster, and more efficient in what we do. But if we don't start with something clean, none of that matters. Okay? We have a saying in sterile processing, or CSSD, if it's not clean, it cannot be sterilized. If it's not clean, it can't be disinfected. So what point are we doing with getting all this new technology, advancing in our sterilization? Because if we're giving them a dirty item, we're just basically harming the patient as it is. So what are we about to learn? We're about to understand the critical steps before making items safe for patient use. We're going to identify what is considered safe for patient use, define the minimum requirements, and look at ways the future is changing our practices. Now, before we get to all this, a friend of mine's on Instagram is going to set me up for failure in Nigeria. But he's from Ghana, so he asked me to ask the audience, who makes the best jollof rice, Ghana or Nigeria? I'll let him know. All right. So, the question we have to ask ourselves in sterile processing, and a lot of times when I was introduced, it was introduced as my business is called WDYD-CSP. Those letters stand for what do we do as essential sterile processors? Because a lot of times when I nurses, doctors within my own facility, and I tell them what I do, and go, what do you do? And I'm like, I'm the man who cleans the instruments and prepares them for the surgeons and for the patients that you care for. Because without us, you can't do your job. Okay? Doesn't matter what you bring in. I don't care what kind of technology you bring in. If it doesn't come through us, you cannot do your role. Okay? It has to come through my hands first. All right? So is clean enough for patient use? I was going to have a little prop up here because we have to understand what we're going to define as what is clean. Okay? Clean is very deceiving to the naked eye. Okay? That is what the goal is of CSS, is to clean an item to make it safe for the next process. Okay? We clean in various ways depending on the instructions for use or the directions for use or whatever you want to call it, the manufacturer's instructions for use. They give us a step. They do all the science, they do all the background, and they tell us this is how it gets done. If you look at the back of your shirt, there's a little tag back there that tells you how to clean your clothes. Do most of us look at it at home? Doesn't matter for us because we wear it. But when it comes to the patient, clean is critical. Okay? Cleaning is defined as the removal of all visible and non-visible soils or foreign matter. If I had two forks up here and they were technically clean, if I lick one and I mix it up and I gave it to you, you wouldn't know which one is clean. So that's the invisible soils that we're trying to get rid of, these microorganisms that are around us every single day. It's not enough just to clean an item to remove the soils that we can see. We have to get rid of what we can't see, and that's the beauty behind our science. Okay, studies show that manual cleaning, okay, just like you would do at home, washing your dishes and things of that nature, as well as automated cleaning, has a 10 to the negative 4 microbial log reduction. Okay, that's CDC's guidelines in 2008 for disinfection, sterilization, in healthcare facilities. Okay, but this alone isn't safe. Okay, if I clean something and I give it to a surgeon without sterilization and disinfection, there are microorganisms on there that's going to harm that patient. Once you open a patient up, any microorganism that's on your skin, that you breathe, this is why we wear our PPEs, that's harmful to the patient. Even something that's sterile, think of an implant. When you put an implant in a patient, okay, it's not good enough, okay? We have to sterilize that item, but that patient's on antibiotics for the rest of their life so their body doesn't reject that foreign object. Okay, advancements in magnification. So we're doing our cleaning. Okay, how do we know it's clean? Okay, we're not seeing now that we don't see the soils. Now we have other items such as borescopes. Okay, borescopes are small, flexible little endoscopes that can look inside of channels. Think about a straw. When you clean a straw, you typically clean the outside of it. But what about the inside? How do we know that the inside of the straw is clean? This device here allows us to see inside of that straw to verify cleanliness. Come on. All right. So this is some IFUs that I have up on the screen. So some of these are and they vary from country to country, state from state, and that's very amazing to me because the same devices that you use here, we use in the United States, but the instructions are different. And I'm not understanding why. That's one of the biggest fascinations and one of the biggest conflicts that we have in our industry. Why are the IFUs different for devices that we use? Okay, so you'll see in the little corner, right in the left-hand corner right there, it'll say decontamination and cleaning of the manual process. If you look at section C that I have highlighted, okay, it tells you it is recommended that a cannulation be inspected with an illuminated magnifying scope to ensure that all debris is removed. Without that borescope, how do we do that? There is no other way to look inside of those cannulas. Okay? ST91 is a guideline that we use in our standards that recommends that cleaning verification testing takes place after each use of high-risk endoscopes. Additionally, the standards now recommend borescopes be incorporated to visual inspection for damages inside of the channels. Again, without that technology, how do we know we're delivering safe items to the patient? And then finally, for these robotics that everyone loves to use, those are one of the most difficult items to clean. If you can't clean them, they're pointless. They're going to increase the risk of infection because cleaning those items takes several steps. This is one of the IFUs just for inspection. Inspection for soils. Under magnification, and it tells us we need 4 times magnification. I don't know about you guys, but in the States, most of our magnification on our tables, only 2 times magnification. We don't even have the equipment to be able to properly inspect robotic instrumentation, but yet we use them like they're the holy grail of all surgeries. Patient safety isn't just about what you can see. There are the hidden killers. Again, it's about cleaning to reduce the amount of microorganisms that we see. Again, our standards state that we have to do cleaning verifications when it comes to cleaning. So once we clean an item, we use little devices that have swabs that gives us a pass or fail rating to let us know that, hey, there are no organic soils on that device and it's safe for patient use, or it's safe for the next process, excuse me. All right, so the next step in the process is determining what level of disinfection requires. Not everything is one size fits all. Okay, it doesn't matter what kind of disinfection you have at home. Okay, we use it for everything. We use our disinfection wipes for our tables. We use it for our chairs. We use it for our computer screens. In healthcare, that's not the case. One size does not fit all. Certain disinfections are working for certain items. Okay, like we can't use surface disinfections for our instrumentation. There are different levels, intermediate, low level, high level disinfections, depending on the device and how it's going to affect the patient. Okay, critical devices, defined by the Spalding classification, that's any device that's going to enter the bloodstream or touch sterile tissue. Anytime we cut through the barrier of the skin and mucous membrane and we get into muscle, that is critical tissue. All those items need to be sterilized. High-level disinfection or disinfection is not an option. I will show you in one of the slides, one of the technologies that are now coming up is UV sterilization, and that's a misconception. UV is not sterilization, it's disinfection. Sterilization is a process that kills all microorganisms, including spores. UV technology has not gotten to the sterilization stage yet. So critical devices, blades, this is an example, knife handles, needles, things of that nature, hemostats, any kind of retractor that enters critical tissue is considered a critical item and requires sterilization. Semi-critical devices. These are devices that touch intact mucous membrane. Okay, this is devices that are going into the natural orifices of the body, the mouth, the ears, the nose, the rectum, the vaginal cavity, even the urethra. Okay, these are items that are required. They should be sterilized, but if they can't tolerate the sterilization process, then high-level disinfection with chemical is acceptable. Okay, it touches intact skin. This is non-critical devices. These are our blood pressure cuffs. The beds are stilts, anything that we use to touch the patient's skin. Thermometers are also considered non-critical devices. These devices can be low-level or intermediate-level disinfected, but again, it requires cleaning. All right, so traditionally it's been a manual process. So a lot of times we'll see our disinfection as a manual process. In the United States and in other countries as well, they're moving away from the manual process because unfortunately, the biggest and a common error in disinfecting is us, okay, and our processes. There is no hospital on the planet that's reducing the amount of surgeries that they're doing. Okay? They're increasing at substantial rates, but are they building better ORs? Are they building better CSPs? We are the last thought in any hospital project. Okay? We are the last ones. They'll build these hybrid ORs. They'll build all these elaborate rooms. They'll build the hospital up, but Central Sterile stays the same. We have the same little sink, the same little washer, the same little things to expect to do the same job and more because of speed, technology. MIS surgeries are increasing drastically. I can remember 5 years ago when you got a knee transplant or a knee replacement, it would take you a week in a hospital. Now it's 1 day of a hospital stay. 1 day. You're in, you get your surgery in 2 hours, they move your knee and they send you home. Heart transplants. My brother went through a heart transplant and a kidney transplant. He stayed 2 days in the hospital. 2 days for a transplant and send them right home. But then how are we supposed to keep up with those times if CSP isn't being advanced to meet those demands? It's crazy. It really is. UV technology versus manual disinfection. This is where we're heading to. Again, before our technology or our disinfection was surface disinfection, but think about when we wipe a surface down, one thing that we always neglect is how long does that surface need to remain wet in order for the disinfectant to be effective. If it's saying 2 to 5 minutes, who's timing it? Do you actually pull a watch out and wait 5 minutes? Or do you wipe and go? Okay, all you did was spread the microorganisms around. UV technology is taking away that manual process in that the lighting, the UV technology, as long as there's no shadowing. Currently in hospitals, they do the room disinfection, but we now have the small units that can do instrumentation. When COVID hit the United States, it hit us hard. UV technology, we were disinfecting single-use items because we were running out of stuff. So we were using UV technology to disinfect some of our PPEs and our masks. I'll skip through this because of timing. Automated with high-level disinfection. Again, disinfection used to be a manual tub that we submerge our items in there, place a timer in there, wait 12 minutes or whatever disinfection you're using. With automated technology, now we have a printout of how long it's going to take to disinfect that item. There's going to be a consistent flow of disinfection within the lumens of those items. There's going to be a timer in there that lets you know if it failed or didn't fail, and a testing unit in there that allow us to tell us if the disinfectant is reusable or is at the end of its life. Again, because of our critical devices requiring sterilization, okay, sterilization over the last 100 years has not changed. Steam sterilization is still the sterilization choice, okay? It's reliable, it's cheap, and it doesn't leave any residue on your devices. And it's very effective if utilized correctly and maintained properly. Okay? It kills microorganisms by denaturing the cell. Okay? The common denominator on all of our sterilizers, depending on what type of it is, whether it be pre-vacuum, gravity, IUSS, or tabletop, is that it uses steam. Okay? At a certain moisture, certain time, temperature, and contact is critical. Okay, new devices gives us new challenges because of faster surgeries. This is the MIS surgeries. Okay, the way of olds is no longer acceptable. Gravity sterilization used to be very prevalent. Okay, now it's pre-vacuum because it's a faster cycle and it gets into the device a little bit better. Okay, clean steam and water quality is new to our standards. Okay, you can't clean with dirty water. Okay, you just can't. Okay, so water quality is extremely important when it comes to steam sterilization. New technologies in sterilization comes from our container systems. Okay, we had 3 types of barrier systems. We're wrapping, rigid containers, or peel pouches. Rigid containers offer the sturdiest microbial barrier because we can handle it a little bit better. We don't have to worry about holes in those wrappers or overstuffing them, the items. These are just 3 different types of technologies that are out there right now. The one tray is almost similar to IUSS, where you can sterilize your items without a dry time but can still store. You have your instrument pods for your large cases, especially in the United States when we do a lot of the implant surgeries and we do a lot of the specialized surgeries. We can get loaner trays or trays from other facilities, up to 40 trays for one case. So now we have one container system that can sterilize all those items, keep them together so we don't lose them during cases. And then we have the Zuno. This is a live video, but I'm not going to play it because of the time period. But Zuno offers a sterilization container that gives you a guaranteed seal. Like when we lock our trays up, sometimes they get beat up, okay? They've been in our facilities for years and years and years on end. The gaskets might be worn out. Zuno technology has a technology that allows you to it tells the user that there is a definite seal after sterilization, that there's no air leaks, and that the item will remain sterile on the shelf until needed. Let's go. All right. Our new devices may require tender loving care. Okay. Steam sterilization is the most common modality. Again, our new devices are made with materials that sometimes cannot tolerate that high heat. As technology progresses, especially when it comes to flexible endoscopes, we can't sterilize those items. High-level disinfection is still the modality of choice, and we still have low-level disinfection or low-temperature disinfection, which uses chemistry, which is a lot more expensive and, again, has some safety hazards along with them. So chemical sterilization of choices in healthcare: oxide, hydrogen peroxide, and ozone technology that is no longer used in the United States because of cost and actually because of the actual danger that possesses. For a matter of fact, ethylene oxide, at the time for this conference, hydrogen peroxide has become the #1 chemical sterilization choice for the United States for a new cycle that was released to be able to do flexible endoscopes. At one point, we couldn't do it anywhere but in ethylene oxide, but that's a carcinogen, is a cancer-causing agent. It's also known as a reproductive health problem. It reduces it. We can only run it on full loads, and the EPA in our government really strictly governs that item, so it reduces the greenhouse gases in the industry. This is just a few examples of the different low-temperature sterilizers in our facilities. To the left is the hydrogen peroxide sterilizers, the ozone sterilizers in the middle that we no longer use, and then we have the new FDA-cleared ethylene oxide sterilizers that, again, is very minimized in the United States as well. We're the heart of the hospital. I can't stress that enough. For CSSD, it's vital, our critical roles. We are the heart of the hospital, and as the world changes, so do we. Just seeing us together here just tells me that we all are serious about the impact that we have to our patients. Okay, if we have to have those first steps, we have to make sure that it starts from the beginning, which is CSD, and then it goes all the way to the end, to the operating suite. I was fortunate enough in my career to be able to work both ends of those spectrums at one time, so I know one hand feeds the other. And unfortunately, in many hospitals, that really isn't the case. We're looked down upon sometimes, and we're asked to do the impossible, and we usually always come out doing the impossible. But I urge you guys to always think about the patient, because one day you might be that patient. Okay, so you have to take every step and every precaution needed to make sure that we're providing instrumentation that's safe for use. Okay, no point, again, I say there is no point in sterilizing or disinfecting an item if we cannot clean it properly. When robotics comes to Nigeria, you will see the United States still struggles with robotics. It is one of the most hated instrumentations that we have because of the time it takes to clean them, as well as flexible endoscopes. It's a beautiful technology when it comes to the speed that it takes to do a surgery and the precision, but when it comes to cleaning those devices and the cost behind them, they're a nightmare. And if we do not follow those instructions for use, there is no point in us continuing or even acquiring them. I can tell you right now, I know a lot of my sister facilities that I look over in the United States shouldn't even be doing robotics because we're doing more harm than good. Okay? That is all I have, guys. I tried to keep it really quickly. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, please.
We can do better.